G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marking Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty folks, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My wife lost a lot of weight to gain the attention of her work crush. How do I move forward? After we had our kids, my wife gained a lot of weight, like 80 pounds, and honestly, I was fine with it. I thought she was still hot, and my desire for intimacy never waned, so for a while she was fine with her weight too. Fast forward 5 years, and all of a sudden my wife gets really into fitness and nutrition. She buys a Peloton, goes on a strict diet and loses all the weight and then some. She looks like she did when I met her in her early 20s. She looks great, but like I said, I thought she looked great heavy too. Then one day last week, she comes home from work, and I can tell something is really bothering her. I ask what's wrong, but she's just evasive and distant. This lasts a few days before she finally breaks. She tells me that the reason she was so determined to lose weight was because she wanted attention from the guy at work she has a crush on. She said that all the women have a crush on this guy, and she just wanted his attention. Well, apparently she got too much of it on the day she came home so upset. He had apparently been flirting with my wife for a few weeks, and that day he asked her if she wanted to have dinner with him after work at a restaurant that just so happens to be in a hotel. He heavily implied that they could get a room afterward, or even skip the restaurant and just get a room service. She tells me that to this point it was all just fantasy in her head, but now it was real and she snapped out of it. She realized that she'd gone way too far. She declined his invitation, of course, and felt she needed to confess what she'd done to me. I was crushed and still am. First, I'm actually upset she told me. I know this is some form of cheating, but I didn't suspect anything. She could have just kept this to herself and not pass her burden on to me. So the thought comes to my mind that maybe she wants me to dump her so she can be with this guy, and that's why she's telling me. So I ask her that, and she breaks down crying. That's not what she wants. She says she loves me and just wanted to be honest with me and apologize. Nothing physical happened, I'm pretty sure of it. I can track her phone and also have pretty free access to it. She never hides it, leaves it everywhere, and that phone never leaves work. I suppose she could be cheating on her lunch break and leave the phone, but I just don't think she'd leave the phone and not be available for the kids. So I don't think I want a divorce. I love her and we have kids, but it's just eating at me that she did all the work she did to be attractive for another man. I don't know where to go or even what to ask of her. I just need some advice. Oh yeah, that would be a pretty tough pill to swallow. I think the fact that she came clean, before anything serious happened is a relatively good sign. Maybe this is salvageable. Let's go to the comments. Well, cancelling, of course, is the move here, but it's interesting your post is a lot about he was flirting with her and he invited her out. But the reality is, he didn't ask a married woman to go to a hotel for sex without some or a lot of encouragement and flirtatious back. So truly, the least of your worries should be she got in shape for attention. Many people do, even for specific attention. The issue is, she's flirting with this dude. You need to tell her that she didn't almost cheat, she did cheat. Remind her of all that time and effort she invested in someone other than you. She spent a great deal of time getting him to the point where he was confident she'd say yes if he asked. So there was a lot of flirtation and innuendo going on. Any touching or kissing? She needs to show you all that, and if I were you, I'd talk about her changing jobs. Kinda similar with her friends. Look at her conversations. Were any of her friends in on this budding affair, egging her on? If it's egregious, maybe they need to be cut off too. You're going to need a lot of time together if you want to work on this. Is there family that can help watching the kids? If it's her family, they need to know what's going on, i.e. her infidelity, so that they fully grasp why you need their support. Lastly, she needs to understand the severity of this blow to you. Your ego, sense of security, and trust are all not in good places. She needs to know that you may not be able to forgive her, and pretend it didn't happen is not in the cards. You don't just ask a married co-worker to have sex in a hotel out of the blue. Clearly she's been flirting heavily with him at work. She only told you out of guilt. To go that far out of your way to attract a work crush is wild. She was seriously considering it and probably would have done it if he moved a bit slower. I'd ask to see all the correspondence, including work emails, and then make a judgment on whether your marriage is salvageable. If so, demand a post-nuptial and that she gets a new job. Update me. Were you paying attention to her when she was big? My husband never was bothered when I was big, but he didn't ever pay me compliments either. I lost a lot of weight, 60 pounds on my own, and he didn't join me on my fitness journey, but he never really celebrated my success either. I'm not suggesting you didn't give her attention, I'm just wondering. Opie says, I gave her a lot of attention when she was big. I still thought she was hot, so she was getting attention from me, but just not anyone else like she used to. Let's go to an update, 8 days later. I want to thank everyone for commenting on my original post. I got some good advice, but above all, I just needed to vent, so thanks for listening. I talked more with my wife after my first post in an attempt to understand why she did what she did. From what she tells me, every woman in the office swoons over this guy. They all flirted with him, my wife included, and he never flirted back. A few of the single ones have basically thrown themselves at him but still got nothing. So my wife thinks to herself that when she was younger and thinner, she could and did have guys that looked like him chase after her. So she wanted to prove to herself that she could still get the attention of a hot young guy if she wanted. To answer a common question, yes, she was heavily flirting with him, but she says that he knew she was married, and since she didn't plan on ever being with him alone, it was harmless. Now that I think about it, she was in a great mood in the few weeks prior to her breaking down. She was kind of all over me as well. We hadn't had that much sex in years. She tells me that it wasn't so much the guy at work heating her up, but how his attention made her feel. Which again, I've always given her plenty of attention. Why that wasn't enough to make her feel good about herself, I don't know. And that's really what hurts me most. What I thought of her didn't matter. She says what I thought did matter, but she asked me if she walked past me on the street at her heaviest, would I turn and look? I don't do that with anyone, but I would have still found her attractive. But I guess I see the point she's making. When she was younger, she did get a lot of head turns, and she got used to that. She liked the attention, and when that all went away, it made her depressed. In the end, I think we'll be okay. I'll get over this, but as of now, I'm not letting her know that. I told her she needs to go to therapy and work on why she needs this external validation from people she doesn't care about. She agreed to do that. Like I said in my original post, I don't think she did anything physical with him. We have Lifestyle 360 and I see where she goes, and she goes straight from home to the office and back every day. She either brings lunch or gets something delivered. I just don't think that happened. I acted cold towards her for a few days. It may have been a little cruel, but I wanted her to sweat a little, and I think I was questioning the relationship. Selfishly, I wanted to see her panic and try to win me back. I felt I needed to see she cares what I think of her. She was a mess, bordering on desperate. She cried a lot, which eventually broke me. I love her and couldn't stand to see her sad. So in short, she is going to therapy, and we'll do couples counselling down the road. Thanks for all the advice, everyone. A hopeful ending, I suppose, but there's still cracks here. I'm sure some of you will be skeptical as whether or not this is good. Let's go to the comments. Quote, to answer a common question, yes, she was heavily flirting with him, but she says that he knew she was married, and since she didn't plan on ever being with him alone, it was harmless. That's the part I would have the most trouble with. Yes, it's crazy she lost all this weight for the reason she did, but if she did that and not said or acted on anything, then she wouldn't have really done anything actively. But she did very heavily flirt with the guy, and somehow the fact he knew she is married makes it okay. That's extremely messed up because that's an excuse to absolve her of all the guilt because, the guy knows she's married, so it's fine. That's a huge red flag. This would shatter all the trust I have in a partner. They'll probably be fine long term, but the fact that she lost over 80 pounds so this guy will give her attention is wild. I don't think people really know how obsessed this woman was with this guy. She spent over 1 year making heavy effort just to get this guy to notice her. She then put in the effort to lose all that weight just for his validation. Do you know how difficult it is to lose weight? She lost 80 pounds in some months while having to juggle work and family responsibilities, just so this guy could flirt back. What else would she be ready to do if it gave her the dude's attention? I like Opie's optimism, but I don't think they'll be fine long term. Opie pedestalizes her and hasn't really put everything into perspective. It's good that she came clean before going far, but she was and is in deep. Every time she was intimate, if she was, with her husband, she was thinking of him. Her kind of limerence doesn't just go away, and she still sees this guy and spends time with him every day at work. Not great, but not the worst. It sucks the wife felt the need to emotionally cheat to build her self-esteem, and it sucks a little that Opie was so intentional about wanting to emotionally hurt his wife to make himself feel better about the crappy situation. That said, I think they'll be fine long term. Opie has clearly always been super into his wife, and the wife actually fessed up on her own. Also, in this case, I think I believe Opie's wife that this was more about an ego trip than actually wanting to bang a stranger. The fact that he can literally track where she is at all times, and the fact that she never got sketchy with her phone are important details in my opinion. Another comment replies to that. I'm a woman in her early 30s who has gained a lot of weight after being thin and hot in my 20s. It's crazy how differently people treat you, and it really can hurt your self-esteem, even when you have a loving partner at home. It's a weird mind freak realizing that the positive attention you were used to was just because of your appearance, and even more of a mind freak when you realize just how much of your identity and self-worth was tied to people finding you attractive. I'm not excusing her emotional cheating, but I can understand how hard it is to change your entire mindset about your self-worth. Interesting. Alright guys, we're going to leave that one there. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, we're going to move on to another story. Okay, this one's from Relationships. It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My boyfriend tried to coax my roommate into having sex with him. Hey, I'm in a rough place and I'm really shaken from everything that has went down. There is a lot, so please stick with me. I'm a junior in a mid-sized college. My soon-to-be ex-boyfriend goes to a state school, which is around a 2-hour drive from my college, so he visits semi-often. We met through mutual friends and have been dating for around 2 years now. He was my best friend, and I loved our dynamic more than anything. I live with 3 other people, my best friend Lee, and 2 girls who got pulled into our apartment by university housing. The other girls are Emily and Michelle, who are best friends. As the year went on, all 4 of us got closer, and we can consider each other as friends. This weekend, Emily and Lee ended up going home for the weekend, so it was just Michelle and I in the apartment. My boyfriend came over Friday after class, and we spent the rest of the day together. We went to my sorority social event, but left early since my boyfriend was a little tired. Michelle is in the army, and is super fit and beautiful. She has a ton of tattoos, and is overall a cool girl. On occasion, she's hung out with me and my boyfriend in the living room. I've seen him look her up and down a few times, but just thought it was a normal guy thing and brushed it off. Michelle had gone to bed early because she had to wake up early for drill on Saturday. My boyfriend and I ended up going to bed after getting home when I got a text from one of the younger sisters in the sorority saying there was an emergency at her place and I needed to come there now. I asked my boyfriend if he wanted to come help, and he said no and that he'd stay back. I told him that I might be a while, and he insisted that he wanted to stay. I just chalked it up to him being tired. I ended up walking over to the girls' dorm to find one of them unresponsive from all the drinking at the social event. Her roommate was shoving a finger down her throat and making her puke up all the stuff she'd drank. We called an RA, a resident advisor, and she said that she would handle the situation. The RA drove my sister to an urgent care, and I said I would meet her there after grabbing my coat and my car keys. I walked back to my apartment and I walked in on a scene that made my heart drop. My boyfriend was in his boxers, standing in the doorway of Michelle's room. I entered and saw her crying on the floor. I asked what in the hell was going on, and learned from Michelle that my boyfriend had tried to go into her room while she was sleeping and attempted to coax her into having sex with him. While I was getting the details from Michelle, my boyfriend basically just stood there and didn't say anything. I obviously believed Michelle and told my boyfriend to grab his things and drive back to school. I asked Michelle if she needed me to do anything for her, but just said that she needed to sleep for drill over the weekend. So I drove to the urgent care to make sure my sister was alright and stayed until she was released in the morning. She is alright now and just has to deal with the sorority council about her conduct at the social event. I just have no idea how to deal with my roommate because I know she must be traumatized from this. I don't want her to hate me after all of this. I'm enraged at my boyfriend and so heartbroken that he would do something like this. I just feel so sad and upset, and I have no hope right now. Well, that is completely unacceptable from the boyfriend. Opie needs to make sure that she stands with Michelle and make sure she knows that she does not condone this sort of behavior. Let's go to the comments. You did not do anything wrong. You and Michelle are both victims of your boyfriend's disgusting behavior. As far as dealing with her, I would just offer your support for anything she needs and otherwise give her some space while she processes it. You did not knowingly invite a predator into your home, then leave said predator alone with your roommate. You left her alone with someone you both should have been able to trust. When he severely violated both you and her trust, not to mention basic decency, you immediately threw his ass out and supported your friend. You were not the a-hole here. Your soon-to-be ex was the one that thought it was totally okay to wait until you left your home and attempt to assault your friend in her own bed because he found her attractive. I'm not going to even get into how many levels of wrong that is, and how entitled and warped his brain has to be to even come up with this crap. I get that you're probably in I'll deal with your dumbass later mode with him right now while you tend to your sister and your friend. You want to ghost him? Fine. You want to scream in his ear until he's half death? That works too. Just please do not feel guilty about his crappy behavior. You handled this perfectly. My soon-to-be ex-boyfriend. Excellent. Dump him immediately and make sure people know why if and when they ask. He's a predator. Did Michelle explain exactly how he tried to convince her to have sex? Because from her reaction, it sounds like he at least tried to assault her. Opie replies, I've been texting her but she's at drill, so replies are sporadic. Basically, he walked in and tried to get under her covers. She woke up and freaked, and he was saying stuff about how he found her attractive and would love just one night with her. She started crying because she was so surprised and taken aback, I think. Holy crap, yeah, your boyfriend tried to force himself on her. That's beyond awful. Have you asked if she wants to report it? Has he tried to contact you at all? Opie says, we're going to have a talk after she gets back this weekend. He's been trying to contact me, but when I'm ready, I'll simply just cut him off because I don't think he deserves any closure. If he's trying to assault your roommates, he's cheating with or trying to assault other people at his college 2 hours away. I'm wondering how forceful he was in trying to coax Michelle into sleeping with him. None of his behavior is acceptable, but her reaction makes me think that Michelle had to fight him off. I want to be clear, even if he was not violent with Michelle, your ex-boyfriend was 100% wrong. I think you and Michelle will make it through this as long as you communicate to her that you believe her, you are dumping him, and you will support her in any way that she needs. It sounds as if you're already doing this, but I wanted to respond to your concerns about her possibly hating you. Good luck to both of you. I'm so sorry you both have to deal with this. Opie replies, honestly, I was wondering if he'd laid a hand on her, but I really did not want to think about that. It was lingering in the back of my mind, however. You bringing it up has really made me think about it now. Of course, I don't want to ask her for details because I don't want to have to make her recall what happened. It just hurts me to think I've been with a guy who would do something like that to another woman. My heart hurts. Okay, let's go to an update. My original got deleted. Long story short, I left my apartment for an emergency concerning a younger sister in my sorority. After telling my ex I would probably be a while before I got home, he decided to take his chance to try and coerce my roommate into having sex with him. His bright idea was to strip down to his boxers and enter her room and attempt to enter her bed without any sort of consent. As a result, she freaked out. I kicked him out, and now I'm updating what happened after that incident. Michelle did not come home Sunday night and stayed at a friend's place through Monday. She skipped classes for a mental health day, also because she needed sleep from a long and tedious drill. When she got back to the apartment, she already had a game plan in place from talking to an NCO at her unit. We talked and cried for a few hours, and most of the time just sat there in silence, finally feeling the weight of the situation. For everyone asking if my ex was forceful in a physical way with her, he was not. The only time he touched her was when she apparently started pushing him away. He tried pushing her hands away from him since he thought she was going to deck him or something. We think he was shocked because she refused to sleep with him and thought his amazing idea would go perfectly as planned. So Michelle does not want to report him to the police, but she did want to report it to our university. She decided against going to law enforcement because our university can ensure some form of anonymity. Michelle is trying to go to something called Officer Candidate School when she graduates. Therefore, she did not want to deal with any sort of backlash in case it hurts her chances of getting selected to go. We went to the Title IX office, and they immediately saw us after explaining the situation. We talked to a coordinator, but she wanted to talk to Michelle alone for most of the time. After the meeting, we were assured that my ex would be banned from campus. She also said she would reach out to his school and make sure he faces some sort of consequence. According to the coordinator, if his school took this seriously, he could get kicked out of his engineering fraternity and get suspended for a semester. Michelle was completely fine with this. She just wants him out of our lives forever. Our relationship as roommates does not feel awkward. In fact, I feel closer to her. We made the decision not to renew our court apartment for senior year. Michelle and Emily will be getting a double, and Lee and I will be getting one as well. As for my ex, I blocked him on everything and haven't reached out to him since I told him to leave the apartment. I'm ready to start a new chapter. However, as a last-ditch effort to see him burn, I messaged his parents on Facebook and explained what he did and why I would not be attending Thanksgiving at their house. They have seen the message, but they did not reply. Again, thanks for all the help and love, Reddit. And some final comments. Not wasting her breath to formally break up with the idiot, but telling his parents why she wouldn't be coming to Thanksgiving, that is just beautiful. I hope all of the women involved are doing fine now. Victims who are afraid to report sexual assault or assault due to fear of being hurt more just shows how awful the system is. It's sad that society still has that huge problem. Jesus, what a horrible situation. Glad Opie took Michelle's side immediately and helped her with it all. What a good friend. I love that she didn't reach to officially break up with him. He didn't deserve that kind of conversation. It was over the moment he walked into her roommate's bedroom. Yeah, I agree, and I think Opie dealt with this pretty well. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, we're going to move on again. Okay, on relationship advice again. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My fiance's mother gave me abortion pills as an early Christmas present. How on earth do I navigate this situation? I typed the title and proceeded to blank stare at my phone because I can't even process how and why this happened. We were having sort of an early holiday gathering hosted at his parents' house. It wasn't a small gathering either, and not everyone there knows we're expecting except his brother, mother, and father. Right before we got ready to leave, she gave me a small gift box which I initially thought was jewelry and told me to tell her or my fiancé what I think of it. All of this kind of happened in a rush, and there wasn't even a gift exchange between everybody because it wasn't that kind of party, but everyone thought she was being sweet to me because we're getting engaged soon. I was honestly tired and opened the gift at home, which is where I saw this wicked woman gave me pills, mifepristone and misoprostol, which I used for medical abortion. I understand she wasn't too happy about the news and obviously doesn't like me for God knows what reason, but kept it civil, so did I. But reaching this level? I genuinely don't know why she doesn't like me when the rest of the family is completely fine with me. I assume it's because of either my ethnicity or she has a superiority complex and believes I'm not good enough for her son because he graduated from a very prestigious university and has been financially privileged his entire life while I haven't been, even though now I earn my own money and we're pretty much equal. I simply don't know. I obviously told him and showed him, and he saw how visibly upset I am, comforted me, and said what she does and says to me doesn't reflect my worth, and he'll talk to her. I don't understand why he doesn't do something about it immediately. It's been almost 24 hours. We are happy about this pregnancy, and even though it wasn't exactly planned, it was welcome if it happened, and that it's something him and I have discussed over a year ago. Edit, to those wondering how she could have gotten abortion pills without being pregnant, they can be ordered online and delivered discreetly. You don't have to go to a clinic, or she could have paid someone to get them. Either way, they are accessible, and honestly, I don't give a crap how she acquired them, it's what she did with them. Wow, that's got to be one of the worst things you can indirectly do to someone. Make them open a gift that has abortion pills in it. You might as well just punch him in the face. Let's go to the comments. I'm kinda surprised your fiancé hasn't gone scorched earth over this. I would think that the right moment to bring up how effed up this gesture was is like immediately after finding it out. Although maybe your fiancé needs some time to wrap his brain around this. Has he had any contact with his mother since this gift exchange? Opie says, he hasn't, not that I know of. I want to bring it up myself, but I'm beyond humiliated, and I don't want to be labelled as a hysterical person, especially because she plays everything off as a calm and collected woman, and I know for a fact I'll be the one who's being blamed, and she'll be the victim. He knows his mother better than I do, however, so I think it's his responsibility to stand up for me. The right moment, another mama's boy. I'm sorry, OP, this must have been so hurtful. I hope he comes through for you, but he's not off to a very good start. Opie says he is not, and I wouldn't even be that upset if he immediately did something instead of waiting. I've seen all kinds of crap that people have been put through, and honestly, yes, it sucks for her that she doesn't want a grandchild, but does his lack of reaction mean he doesn't want a child either? I think him not saying anything to her or to his family is what hurts me. Opie should remove herself from the situation due to the mother-in-law possibly tempting with food. Opie says, this was also my first thought as well. If she can go this far, she could have also put them in my food, and it would have looked like a miscarriage since I'm still in my first trimester. I'm actually scared. I'm becoming scared of him as well because what the F? If I were him, I would have thrown them, taken them back, and shown everyone. He did nothing. Why? She wanted to know what you think. I would take a picture of the abortion pill box and post it in your family group chat. If you don't have one already, just make one. I would write, thanks Grandma for those, but I won't be needing them. Maybe you can send them back to wherever you got them from to get a refund. I love that you took the time to find me a present, and I hate to say this, but this isn't my taste, and without consulting a doctor, could really harm me too. You don't owe her dignity. Edit, I would never eat or drink anything near her again. Opie replies, yes, I was immediately concerned about what I ate and drank there. I actually threw up, and like I mentioned somewhere in the other replies, I'm scared of both of them at the moment. The only positive thing now is I can have an abortion myself, and I can leave as it's the first trimester. I don't want to be a single mum, and I would rather make a tough choice to terminate the pregnancy rather than deal with this family's crap, and obviously with my partner that I thought loved me and our child. I think if this doesn't get resolved and talked about, I will miscarry just by the stress of all of this. I used to drink to cope, but obviously not now. I need to get myself together and talk to him, but not in the way I already did, crying and coming from an emotional state. Rather, I should talk from a place of logic. He either wants to have a child and life with me, or not. No co-parenting, no being a single mum. That was never the plan. I didn't create the baby by myself after all. Okay, now for an update. The link above is my previous post as it's locked now, and I want to thank everyone for their input and support. It means a lot, genuinely. To start off, I didn't talk to any friends or family. I know the situation best, and I tried to view it from everyone's perspective. To start off, I want to add background to everything so everyone can understand a bit better where I'm coming from. My partner is from a wealthy background and I'm middle class. However, my family has gone through periods when our electricity would be cut. My father doing any job to get vegetables, fruits and bread. I remember this vividly and I'm crying typing, so don't mind my spelling or whatever. While my partner has had everything on a silver platter and has seen the world by the time I travelled further than neighbouring countries. I do remember at the beginning when I met him, I mentioned an experience of staying at a hostel. He had no idea what that was and I had to explain. And he was like, oh, so like when you go with the school? Yeah, anyway, I've travelled a lot staying at hostels and truly loved it, especially when I travelled alone. I met so many amazing people, late night deep conversations, and at one point I was even convinced I'd met my soulmate. On that note, the soulmate person, I dreamt of him last night again. I woke up before I got to speak to him again. My partner, born into wealth where a few generations of his family got into one of the top 5 universities in the world, travelled, etc. F him, you get the idea. I decided to do something manipulative. I know it is, probably even illegal, but I had to in order to get him to open up. I told him I saw a cool hack on TikTok for a whiskey glass, where you freeze water in the glass while it's tilted, and it freezes so you don't have to add ice. Whatever, you get the idea. So I told him to try it out, but my main goal was to get him talkative and open up to me. And no, he didn't talk to his mother, but once again, F her, this is between us. I asked him if it's good that way, and he said yes, to which I replied I wish I could try it, but I can't drink alcohol now, and he just laughed. I said, well, maybe I should use your mum's gift, ha ha, to which he only smirked and looked away from me, and I just knew something was up. I don't want this to be too long, but his mother is insane. She's kicked him out at the age of 11, and the same day she called the police that he ran away, had threatened with suicide and tried to do it, and is diagnosed with a personality disorder. This is as short as I could make it because the update isn't about them, honestly. I told him I personally am unsure about having a child, and he told me he would support any decision I would make. So much for a happy father, but yes. I'm leaving the country in less than 2 weeks, and I will be having a medical abortion. I don't want to be in this family. Essentially, their opinion is that I'm in it for the money, which I never even thought about, and I'm financially independent. Yes, I do live with him, but I'm most definitely able to live without his financial support. The leave is for me to have a break from everything that has happened, and I put actual jewellery in his mum's box, with which the abortion pills came in. It's a break, is what I said to him, because he was in a vulnerable position, and I didn't want to distress him further, but I am leaving, and I can most definitely provide for myself, so that's not an issue. In less than 2 weeks, I will be away. Once again, thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me. It has been overwhelming, and I can't reply to everything, but thank you very much for being there for me. Edit, the jewellery I put in the box is the ring which he proposed with. I didn't buy her anything. One comment says, yeah, he's an a-hole. It's better to know before you're forever tied to someone who thinks of you as lesser, but it still frickin' sucks. Opie says, yeah, it's funny that he thinks lesser of me when his entire family combined is lesser than me. Objectively, they can't even comprehend what I've gone through and how hard I've worked, worried, sacrificed to be the woman I am today. I don't see how what you did with the whiskey glass could be illegal. Sure, you were manipulative, but it's not illegal to lie. Otherwise, good on you. Take care of yourself and get people you're close with to support you while you get over this loser. Opie says, well, because I've been sexually assaulted by someone pouring alcohol into my glass while knowing my limits. It was in my teenage years, but I know how it was done, so I did something with alcohol. Not doing what has been done to me in any way, just to get him to talk in a more relaxed way. I just felt guilty because I had to do that, and it's been done to me to get something out of someone. Oh, you mean someone intentionally got you drunk to assault you? I'm very sorry this happened, just trying to make things clear because your wording is a bit confusing. From your post, it sounded to me like you gave only one glass to your partner. Was it more? If it's only one and you didn't put any drug into it, there's nothing illegal here. You didn't force him to drink it. It's still manipulative, but like everyone is manipulative in some ways, and here, where you'll question your future and safety, I'd say it's largely warranted. And Opie replies, no, I didn't force him to do anything, and it was nothing but frozen water in a glass. The bottle was there. I wouldn't friggin' drug someone for F's sake. It was there, he drank, which was my proposition, but I didn't force him to. I just used it as something to get him to be more honest, and I didn't force him to drink. Manipulative, yes, in the way I had in mind, what I wanted to get out of him while he's under the influence, but not without his consent. I didn't put anything in his drink. Okay, Opie, you didn't put anything in the drink. No need to get real defensive about it. That was weird. But yeah, anyway, Opie got out of there, and I think that's the right thing to do. It's clear that the mother-in-law was crazy, and the son was just not on her side at all. And sometimes you just straight up can't relate to someone when a class divide is this major, and that's important for any relationship. Anyway guys, that's the end of that story. As always, let me know your comments below. Either way, we're moving on again. Okay, we're jumping over to Petty Revenge. This one was written by user Osaka Motherfricker, and it's titled, I got an obnoxious passenger fired. This is a long one, but it was the best revenge story of my life so far. I'm a South African living in Japan, and I took my Japanese wife to meet my parents and have a honeymoon in South Africa. On the first of 3 flights back to Japan was from Joburg to Qatar. We take our seats and get settled in. I noticed that a lot of the passengers around us were wearing the same t-shirts, some kind of pharmaceutical company. As soon as we got settled in, I noticed that the woman and 2 men sat behind us were also employees of this company. As soon as they got settled in, I noticed she, let's call her Brandy, was quite chatty, loud and a bit obnoxious, but I'm a nervous flyer, so at the time I was more worried about the takeoff than her. So I put my earpods on and whoosh, we take off for our 8-hour flight to Qatar. As soon as the seatbelt sign switched off, Brandy started ordering brandy and cokes for herself and her two co-workers. As each drink came, Brandy's voice got louder and more obnoxious. After drink number 6, the topic of her conversation turns to relationships. By this time, half the cabin could hear their conversation about how she disapproves of interracial relationships. Even I could hear her through the guttural screams and face-melting guitar riffs of Meshuggah blasting through my earpods. Then it happened. A nice woman sitting in 4 seats to her left quite loudly says, "Ma'am, could you please quiet down? You're a bit loud and I'm trying to get some sleep." I heard it too, so paused the song and took out my left earpod to excitedly eavesdrop. Brandy was not happy. She says, "Excuse me, this isn't a nighttime flight. Haven't you heard of earplugs?" And then jumps straight back into her conversation. The tension in the air immediately changed. In that moment, all the people who heard the interaction caught eyes with each other, and we all knew this flight was about to get interesting. About 20 minutes later, a flight attendant comes and politely asks Brandy to quiet down a bit. She begrudgingly agrees, orders another round, and quiets down. But it only takes Brandy about 30 minutes to get all the way back up to a volume louder than the jet engines roaring outside the windows. Then another Chinese woman from the other side of the cabin gets up and walks to where Brandy is sitting, and in her best attempt at English says, "Please be quiet, my child keeps waking up because of you." Brandy looks up, and I crap you not, asks this Chinese woman in very mispronounced Chinese, "Can you speak Chinese?" I'm fluent in Chinese, so I could understand what she was trying to say, and just kept repeating it until the frustrated Chinese woman went back to her seat. By this time, both flight attendants for our cabin were very much aware of Brandy's sassy nature and decided to close the bar for the whole cabin, which ticked me off because I was hoping to enjoy a few more whiskeys before we landed. A few minutes later, I hear the sound of shuffling, then plastic, and then the faint sound of what sounds like the cap of a glass bottle being cracked open, then the sound of liquid being poured into cups. Yup, Brandy had opened her bottle of duty-free brandy she bought at the airport, and once again, their conversation began to crescendo. Now, the whole time I'd been spectating the brandy situation, I wasn't really paying attention to my wife, who I assumed was sleeping next to me. I then saw my wife pull one of her earpods out, turn to try and get a look at Brandy through the crack in the seat, and then turn to look at me with a face I rarely see my wife make. It was a face of pure rage and frustration. I snapped. Now, usually I'm not the kind of person who likes to cause a scene, but I decided that I'm not going to let this a-hole of a woman ruin my wife's flight. So, like a crazy person, I stood up and announced loud enough that the entire cabin turned to hear me. "Excuse me everybody, can I please have all of your attention? By a show of hands, who of you would like these people to shut the F up?" About 30 passengers all around us raised their hands. I then turned to Brandy and just point and say, "Look, understand? Shut up." I sat back down to the sound of applause from all the passengers that were raising their hands. My wife was shocked that I did that, but I told her that I did it because I could see that Brandy was beginning to bother you too. She gave me a hug, and the flight attendant that saw what I did brought me a cup of Coke, but slipped me 2 of those little bottles of whiskey. Thankfully, Brandy and the gang then passed out and were quiet for the rest of the flight, so my wife and I could relax. But Brandy wasn't finished, and now she had a new target: me. On her descent, Brandy awakes and decides that she wants to play some cards on the entertainment screen attached to the back of my seat, trying her best to hit the buttons hard enough to make my seat move. I teach kids for a living, so I know that she's behaving like an angry toddler trying to get a rise out of me, so I ignore her. We land, the plane taxis off the runway, and everyone starts getting up to get off the plane. As soon as I get up and she sees my wife and I, she starts repeatedly insulting me about my weight and how I married an Asian woman because I can't get a real South African woman, blah blah blah. High school bully level bullcrap. I just smile and nod my head at everything she was saying and exit the plane. Finally, Brandy and her co-workers walk off, and my wife and I find a nice cafe to have coffee and chill and stretch for a bit before we make our way to the next boarding gate for our second flight to Malaysia. We eventually get to the gate, and lo and behold, guess who's also flying to Malaysia? That's right, it's Brandy. She's standing by the gate window taking selfies and doesn't notice me. I find an empty seat next to a guy wearing the same pharmaceutical company t-shirt and say, "Excuse me sir, that woman over there with blonde hair taking selfies, what's her name?" He asks me why, and I say that she looks like someone I used to go to high school with, but I wasn't sure and didn't want to make an ass of myself asking her directly. He tells me, and I say, "Oh, then it's not her, sorry." I thank him, and for the remainder of the wait at the gate, logged into the airport Wi-Fi, found their company's Facebook page and website, and sent a detailed recount of Brandy's behaviour, being sure to include all the colourful things she was talking about with her co-workers. The next 2 flights back to Japan were uneventful, and we got home safe and sound. 2 weeks later, I get a reply from the CEO asking me for my number, as he would like to talk with me about what happened. He calls me and profusely apologises for what Brandy put us through. Turns out that by the time Brandy landed in Malaysia, the CEO had seen my message, changed her return flight back to South Africa for the very next day, and fired her at arrivals in Johannesburg Airport when she got back. I bought a bottle of brandy and coke on my way home from work that day to celebrate with my lovely wife. Haha, sweet, sweet justice. What a great story. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave that there. That's it from me today. Hope you all enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.